Every day, you wake up with a choice, stay the same or grow. In a world that's moving faster than ever, where competition is fierce and distractions are endless, there's one powerful truth that separates those who thrive from those who fall behind. Self-education is the new superpower. It's not about degrees. It's not about IQ. It's about your commitment to learning something new every single day. Because the moment you stop learning, you start fading. But when you feed your mind with knowledge, challenge, and purpose, you don't just keep up. You get ahead. In this audiobook, we're going to show you how to unlock your potential, sharpen your thinking, and rise far above the average. So if you're ready to leave the crowd behind, this journey starts now. Chapter 1. Your mind is your greatest asset. Every single day is a brand new opportunity. An opportunity to grow, to learn, to step just a little closer to the person you were meant to become. It's easy to get swept up in the hustle and chaos of daily life, the noise, the notifications, the never-ending to-do lists. But here's the truth. If you're not deliberately, intentionally investing in your mind, in your personal growth, then you're missing out on the single greatest advantage you could ever give yourself. Because your mind, yes, your mind, is your greatest asset. It can become your strongest weapon or your greatest weakness. And the power to decide which one it becomes, that power lies entirely in your hands. Your thoughts are the seeds of your reality. The quality of your life, your confidence, your ability to succeed, the way you handle challenges, it all begins in your mind. Your mindset is the engine that drives everything else. If you don't take control of what's entering your mind, the world will do it for you. And let me tell you something. The world doesn't care about your dreams. The world doesn't care about your success. The world is noisy, chaotic, and full of distractions. It will bombard you with fear, self-doubt, negativity, and false limitations. It will tell you that you're not smart enough, not talented enough, not lucky enough. And if you start to believe those voices, if you accept that narrative, then the game is over before it even begins. But here's the good news. You don't have to accept that. You don't have to accept what the world tries to feed you. You can take back control. You can train your mind. You can sharpen it, strengthen it, and turn it into the most powerful force in your life. Because when you do that, when you start feeding your mind with clarity, wisdom, knowledge, and discipline, your entire life begins to shift. It's not about being lucky. It's not even about being the smartest or the most talented. The difference between the people who rise and those who remain stuck is one thing: mindset. It's how they think. It's what they focus on. It's what they choose to consume mentally every single day. Winners, the people you admire, the ones who seem like they have it all together, they don't just stumble into success. They educate themselves every single day. They read. They listen. They seek out new perspectives. They surround themselves with empowering ideas. And they make learning a non-negotiable part of their life. Losers, on the other hand, they don't even realize they have a choice. They drift through life, reacting instead of responding. They consume mindlessly. News, social media, gossip, whatever floats into their view. They let other people and outside circumstances shape who they are and how they think. Worst of all, they think that's just how life is. They believe life is happening to them instead of realizing that life is constantly responding to them. So let me ask you something. When was the last time you learned something that had the power to actually change your life? I'm not talking about entertainment. I'm not talking about quick distractions that you forget within the hour. I'm talking about real knowledge, the kind that forces you to grow, that challenges you, that pushes you to get better. If you can't remember, that's a problem, because here's the brutal truth. If you're not growing, you're dying. There's no standing still. You're either moving forward or you're being left behind. And every day you let pass without learning something, without stretching your mind, you're handing the advantage to someone else, because out there right now, someone is learning, someone is improving, someone is reading, studying, applying, sharpening their edge. While you're standing still, they're sprinting. And one day you'll look around and wonder why they're living the life you want, why they're successful, fulfilled, confident, and moving ahead while you're stuck. And the answer won't be luck. It won't be privilege. It will be this: that they made daily self-education a priority. You didn't. That's why your mind is your greatest asset. Because when you commit to growth, real daily growth, when you begin feeding your mind with powerful, empowering ideas, you unlock something most people never even tap into. You become unstoppable. You start to see life differently. You start to make better decisions. You develop clarity. You begin to attract opportunities. People start looking at you differently because you're showing up with confidence. You're walking taller, not because of arrogance, but because you've done the work. You've gained knowledge. You've taken the time to grow and evolve. You're no longer just existing. You're creating. You're building something that matters. You're taking ownership of your life. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but I don't have time. I'm busy. I've got a job, a family, responsibilities. I don't have hours to read books or attend seminars. To that, I say this: you don't have time not to. You can't afford not to prioritize your growth. Take a hard look at how you're spending your time. How many hours do you spend scrolling through your phone, watching TV, engaging in activities that do absolutely nothing for your future? Be honest with yourself. Now imagine taking just a fraction of that time, say 20 minutes a day, and using it to feed your mind. Where would you be in a year, 5 years, 10? The answer is simple. You'd be light years ahead of where you are now. That's the difference. That's the separator between those who succeed and those who don't. They make time. They don't leave personal growth to chance. They schedule it. They protect it. They understand that knowledge isn't just power, it's freedom. Look at the most successful people in the world. Leaders, innovators, visionaries. They never stop learning. They never stop growing. They never stop seeking out new perspectives. That's not a coincidence. That's a pattern. They know that the moment you stop learning is the moment you start declining. And if they, with all their success and wealth, are still learning every day, what makes you think you can afford to stop? So the real question isn't, do you have time? The real question is, are you willing? Are you willing to take control of your life? Are you willing to change the way you think? Are you willing to make daily education a non-negotiable habit? I'll be honest. Most people won't. Most people will hear this and nod their heads in agreement, maybe feel a little inspired, and then go right back to their old patterns. Why? Because change is uncomfortable. Growth is uncomfortable. But do you know what's more uncomfortable? Waking up 10 years from now in the same place, same struggles, same regrets, same excuses. That's real pain. If you want a different life, you have to make different choices. And it all starts with how you educate yourself every single day. You have the power to learn something today that could change the rest of your life. The question is, will you take it? Will you make the decision right now to start feeding your mind with ideas that elevate you, with thoughts that strengthen you, with knowledge that equips you for greatness? Or will you keep doing what you've always done, hoping things will magically change? Because let me be clear, life doesn't get better by chance. It gets better by change. And that change begins with you. It begins with your daily habits. It begins with your mind. So here's the choice in front of you. You can stay the same, or you can evolve. You can keep making excuses, or you can start feeding your mind with purpose. You can settle for an average life, or you can decide right now that you are meant for more. Because your mind is your most valuable asset, and what you choose to do with it will determine the life you live. Chapter 2. Read, listen, observe. The 3 pillars of self-education. Let me ask you something. What are you feeding your mind? Every day, your mind is absorbing something. Whether you realize it or not, your brain is constantly taking in information. Every headline you skim, every conversation you participate in, every video you watch, every post you scroll past. Your mind is like a bank. And with every moment, you're making deposits. Some are positive, some are poison. The question is, what kind of deposits are you making? Because here's the truth. The quality of what you feed your mind will determine the quality of your life. It's that simple and that serious. If you fill your mind with distractions, fear, and negativity, guess what? That becomes your reality. You start thinking small. You start doubting yourself. You start reacting instead of responding. But if you fill your mind with wisdom, with growth-oriented ideas, with deep and useful knowledge, you begin to rise. You begin to lead. You begin to think differently. And that's how the winners separate themselves from the crowd. See, most people don't even think about this. They're just floating through their day, letting whatever pops up on their feed or their screen dictate the direction of their thoughts. They don't realize that their focus is being hijacked, their energy drained, their potential diluted. But you, if you want to live an extraordinary life, if you want to elevate your mind and create real momentum, you've got to be intentional. You have to take full ownership of what you allow into your mental space, because your thoughts drive your actions and your actions shape your life. And if you truly want to grow, if you truly want to be smarter, stronger, and more successful than the average person, then you need to build your life around the 3 pillars of self-education. Read, listen, observe. These 3 habits may sound simple, but they are nothing short of life-changing if you take them seriously. They sharpen your mind, elevate your awareness, and give you the kind of mental edge that most people only dream about. Let's break each one down. 1. Read. Feed your mind with power. Reading is one of the most powerful habits you will ever develop. But let's be clear. We're not talking about reading headlines, clickbait, or gossip blogs. We're talking about real reading. Books, articles, and resources that challenge your thinking, that stretch your understanding, that teach you something valuable. One powerful book can reshape the way you think about the world. One idea can shift your mindset and open doors you never even saw before. Most people stop reading once they finish school. They believe they've learned enough, that they've graduated from growth. But the truth is, school is where education starts, not where it ends. Life is the real classroom, and reading is how you continue to evolve. When you read consistently, you become more articulate, more knowledgeable, more confident. You begin to speak differently, carry yourself differently, and most importantly, you begin to think at a higher level. Imagine spending just 20 minutes a day reading books that elevate your mind. Imagine the compound effect that would have on your life after 6 months, 1 year, 5 years. Your perspective would be unrecognizable. You'd be making decisions with clarity while others are lost in confusion. That's the power of reading. It rewires your brain for greatness. 2. Listen. Learn from those who've been there. Listening is another underrated superpower. And I don't mean simply hearing things. I mean truly listening. Listening with intention. Listening to people who have walked the road you want to walk. Listening to those with experience, with insight, with wisdom. The most successful people I've ever known are also the best listeners. They don't talk just to hear themselves speak. They don't let their ego take over every conversation. They listen. They absorb. They take notes. They learn. But most people, they're too busy trying to prove they're right. Too busy talking over others. Too distracted by their own opinions to notice the lessons that are right in front of them. And that's why they stay stuck. When you become a great listener, you gain the ability to recognize patterns, to pick up on things others miss, to spot opportunities hidden in plain sight. You learn faster. You grow deeper. You become wiser. So listen to audiobooks, listen to podcasts, watch interviews, engage in conversations where your goal isn't to impress, but to learn. And remember, when you're talking, you're repeating what you already know. But when you listen, you're gaining something new. 3. Observe. The hidden lessons all around you. Now, this third pillar might just be the most powerful of all. Observation. You can learn a lot from reading books and listening to great minds, but there is something extraordinary about learning through observation. Watching closely, paying attention to what's really happening beneath the surface. Life is full of lessons. Every situation, every interaction, every success, every failure. If you're paying attention, the world becomes your teacher. Observe how successful people think, how they move, how they make decisions. Observe how they handle pressure, how they speak, how they treat people. There's so much you can learn simply by watching with intention. And don't just observe the wins. Learn from people's mistakes too, especially the ones you don't want to repeat. A wise person doesn't need to fall into every trap. They watch someone else do it and say, okay, now I know what not to do. The people who rise in life aren't necessarily the ones with the most resources. They're the ones who've trained themselves to see what others overlook. They've developed the awareness to catch the patterns, to make sense of complexity, and to adapt in real time. That's what observation gives you, a mental advantage. The truth most people ignore. Let's be honest. Most people won't do this. They won't build these habits. They'll hear this chapter, agree with it, maybe even get excited about it, and then go back to scrolling, gossiping, reacting, and wasting time. Because self-education takes discipline. It takes intention. It takes commitment. But if you're willing to show up for yourself, to read when others are scrolling, to listen when others are talking, to observe when others are ignoring, You will rise. You will start thinking differently. You'll begin to act with more clarity. You'll notice how much sharper you've become mentally, emotionally, even spiritually. And eventually, others will notice too. They'll ask what your secret is, how you seem so calm, so clear, so ahead of the game. And your answer will be simple. I read. I listened. I observed. I fed my mind when others were starving theirs. No more excuses. And look, I get it. You might be thinking, I don't have time. But here's the thing. You do have time. You just need to make it. If you have time to watch a show, you have time to read 10 pages. If you have time to scroll through your feed, you have time to listen to a 15-minute podcast. If you have time for meaningless distractions, you have time to invest in your growth. It's not about having time. It's about prioritizing your future. Because if you don't, one day you'll look back and realize the years passed and nothing changed. You'll be in the same place, facing the same problems, wondering why others passed you by. Don't let that happen. Final word. Protect your mind like gold. Your mind is sacred. It is the operating system of your life. And what you feed it will determine whether you live in confusion or clarity, weakness or strength, mediocrity or greatness. Read every day. Listen with intention. Observe the world around you. Make it a habit. Make it your way of life. Because those who feed their minds with wisdom live lives of purpose, power, and potential. Chapter 3. How to learn faster and smarter than 99% of people. In today's world, knowledge is power, but speed is the new superpower. We're living in a time where information is everywhere. Knowledge is at your fingertips, and opportunities are no longer reserved for the privileged few. And yet, despite all this access, most people still fall behind. Not because they're lazy, not because they don't care, but because they haven't mastered the most essential skill of all, the ability to learn faster, deeper, and smarter than everyone else. If you want to level up your life, your career, your health, your finances, anything, you need to become a high-speed learner. You need to be able to take in information quickly, retain it effectively, and most importantly, apply it meaningfully. And here's the good news. You don't need to be a genius. You don't need a photographic memory. You don't need perfect grades or a prestigious degree. What you need are better strategies. Because learning fast isn't about cramming. It's not about overloading your brain with facts. It's about learning in a way that sticks. Learning in a way that builds momentum, creates clarity, and helps you move forward with confidence. So in this chapter, we're going to break down how to learn faster and smarter than 99% of people by using proven techniques, powerful habits, and simple mindset shifts that will give you the edge you've been looking for. Let's begin. 1. Active learning. Don't just absorb. Engage. The first shift you need to make is moving from passive learning to active learning. Most people consume information passively. They read a book, watch a video, or sit through a lecture, and then they forget 90% of it within days. Why? Because they're not engaging with the material. They're observing it, not living it. Active learning means you're doing more than just listening or reading. You're thinking, questioning, connecting the dots. You're mentally involved. Want to really learn something? Here's a secret. Teach it. That's right. One of the fastest ways to internalize knowledge is to explain it to someone else. Teaching forces you to break the information down in your own words. It shows you what you actually understand and what you don't. Even if there's no one to teach, Say it out loud. Write it in your journal. Create a short summary. The act of rephrasing and reapplying information deepens your understanding in a way passive learning never could. 2. Focus is a superpower. Use it wisely. Let's face it, distraction is the enemy of deep learning. Your brain isn't built to multitask. Every time you check your phone while trying to study, you're resetting your focus. Every ping, buzz, or pop-up pulls you away from peak performance. So how do you fix that? Use one of the most effective productivity tools ever created, the Pomodoro technique. This simple method involves breaking your study time into short, focused bursts, usually 25 minutes of deep work followed by a 5-minute break. It might sound basic, but it works because it aligns with how your brain naturally operates. During those 25 minutes, you give the task your full undivided attention. No distractions, no multitasking, just pure focus. Then you step away for 5 minutes, recharge, and come back strong. Over time, this habit doesn't just help you get more done. It actually trains your brain to focus longer and more deeply. And in today's world, focus is your competitive advantage. 3. Spaced repetition. Learn less. Remember more. One of the biggest lies we've been told is that repetition means doing something over and over again in one sitting. But true mastery comes from spaced repetition, reviewing information at increasing intervals over time. Here's how it works. Let's say you learn something new today. You review it tomorrow, then a few days later, then a week later, then again in a month. Each time, you're strengthening the neural pathways that store that information. Why is this powerful? Because your brain needs forgetting in order to remember better. When you almost forget something and then recall it, you reinforce that memory tenfold. There are even apps like Anki or Quizlet that are built around this technique. They schedule your reviews for you, making learning faster, easier, and more efficient. So instead of trying to cram everything the night before, space out your reviews. You'll learn less in the moment, but remember more in the long run. 4. Visualization. Picture what you learn. Your brain loves visuals. It remembers images way better than text. That's why turning abstract concepts into visual models can accelerate your learning dramatically. Try using mind maps, diagrams, or drawings. Use color. Use shape. Create mental pictures that anchor your knowledge to something visual. When you do this, your brain creates more connections and stronger recall. Can't draw? Doesn't matter. This isn't about art. It's about creating associations that help your memory stick. The more senses and brain regions you activate while learning, the better you retain and understand the information. 5. Organize to optimize. Think about this every time you sit down to learn and you don't know where your notes are or what you're supposed to focus on. You're wasting valuable mental energy. Learning faster means being organized. Organize your materials. Use folders. Use digital tools. Break big ideas into small, manageable chunks. The more structured your approach, the less effort your brain wastes on logistics, and the more it can focus on learning. Create a clear roadmap. Know what you want to learn and why. Have specific goals. That clarity will give your learning purpose, and purpose is a powerful motivator. 6. Mindset, the key that unlocks it. All you can have, every technique, every tool, every strategy in the world. But if your mindset isn't right, none of it will stick. If you believe that learning is hard, that you're not smart enough, that you've never been good at studying, then your brain will prove you right. But if you shift your thinking, if you adopt a growth mindset, the belief that you can improve, that effort matters more than talent, then your brain starts to change. You'll face challenges with curiosity instead of fear. You'll see mistakes as feedback, not failure. And you'll start to find joy in the process of growth, not just the results. Because the most powerful learners, they don't learn to impress. They learn to evolve. 7. Apply what you learn or lose it. Here's the final and perhaps most important piece of the puzzle. Learning means nothing if you don't use it. Knowledge that isn't applied quickly fades, but when you use what you learn, when you take action, it becomes part of who you are. So don't just read about marketing. Write that sales page. Don't just learn about leadership. Start mentoring someone. Don't just watch a video on public speaking. Go give a speech, even if it's just to your mirror. Application is the bridge between potential and power. That's where transformation happens. Becoming a super learner is a choice. The most successful people in the world didn't get there because they were born gifted. They got there because they made learning a lifestyle. They don't wait for knowledge to come to them, they seek it. They don't stop learning once they graduate, they start learning for real. They don't just collect information. They apply it with purpose, and you can do the same. Learn actively, focus deeply, repeat smartly, visualize clearly, organize effectively, believe in your ability, apply relentlessly. Do that every day, and you'll outlearn, outgrow, and outpace 99% of people. This is your edge. This is your advantage. This is your power. Now use it. Chapter 4. If you're not learning, you're falling behind. Let's not sugarcoat it. The world is moving faster than ever before. Technology is evolving. New skills are being developed. Industries are being transformed. Information is doubling at a speed we've never seen in human history. And in this ever-accelerating world, there's one truth that stands above all others. If you're not learning, you're falling behind. There is no standing still anymore. No coasting, no autopilot. The people who are thriving, the ones who are getting ahead in life, building successful careers, adapting to change, and grabbing opportunities, are the ones who have made continuous learning a daily habit. They understand that the world doesn't wait. Opportunities don't knock forever. The edge you have today might be gone tomorrow if you don't keep sharpening it. Graduation is not the finish line. One of the biggest myths society teaches us is that learning ends when school does. That once we get a diploma or a degree, we've somehow reached the end of our education. But let me tell you something. Graduation is not the finish line. It's the starting point. School may give you the basics, but life demands more. It demands that you keep evolving, keep growing, keep learning. Because the moment you stop feeding your mind is the moment your progress begins to fade. The world keeps changing, with or without you. And if you're not adapting, if you're not leveling up, you're silently slipping behind, even if you don't feel it yet. You may think, well, I'm doing fine. But are you growing? Are you getting better, stronger, smarter? Or are you simply getting by? Because here's the harsh reality. Someone out there is learning what you're avoiding. Someone is reading the books you're not reading. They're taking the courses you're not taking. They're listening to the podcasts you're skipping. And that person is inching closer to the opportunities you say you want. So ask yourself honestly, am I learning every day? Am I growing, or am I just coasting? The cost of comfort is a dangerous thing, that makes you feel safe, but it quietly steals your future. When people reach a certain level, maybe they get a good job, start earning decent money, or gain some recognition, they tend to relax. They stop doing the very things that got them there in the first place. They stop learning. They stop growing. They start to coast. And slowly, without realizing it, they become outdated. Their skills become less relevant. Their mindset grows rigid. Their confidence erodes because the world is not slowing down for anyone. And when you choose not to grow, you're making a decision, whether you realize it or not, to let others pass you by. Don't let that happen. Don't let comfort rob you of your momentum. Don't let complacency steal your edge. The most dangerous place you can live is in the illusion that good enough will always be enough. It doesn't take hours a day, just a daily habit. Here's something you need to understand. Learning doesn't have to be overwhelming. You don't need to study for hours. You don't need to enroll in full-time courses. You don't need to consume entire textbooks every week. What you need is consistency. Just 20 to 30 minutes a day of focused learning can completely change the trajectory of your life. Imagine where you'd be right now if you had spent just 20 minutes a day learning something new every day for the past year. Now imagine doing that for the next 5 years. The difference between who you are now and who you could become would be staggering. It's not about quantity. It's about habit. It's about showing up every day and saying, I'm not going to let today pass without getting a little bit better. Read a chapter. Listen to a podcast. Watch a video. Take notes. Reflect. Apply. That's all it takes. Learning is everywhere, if you're willing to see it. One of the biggest misconceptions is that learning only happens in classrooms or formal settings. That's not true anymore. The world is your classroom, if you choose to see it that way. Learning is in the podcast you listen to on your commute. It's in the TED Talk you watch while eating lunch. It's in the conversation you have with someone who's been where you want to go. It's in the mistake you made yesterday, if you take time to reflect on it. There are lessons all around you. Every experience, every encounter, every challenge, every success, they all have something to teach you. The question is, are you paying attention? Great learners don't just look for books. They look for insight. They're curious. They ask questions. They observe. They reflect. And because of that, they keep evolving faster and further than everyone else. Don't just learn. Apply. But let's be clear. Learning alone is not enough. You can read every book in the world, listen to every podcast, take every course, but if you don't apply what you learn, it's useless. Information without action is just noise. True learning only happens when it leads to change. Change in the way you think, the way you act, the way you live. So ask yourself, how am I applying what I learn? How am I turning knowledge into progress? How am I using my growth to solve real problems in my life? Don't just learn for the sake of learning. Learn with a purpose. Learn with direction. Learn to become someone who is not only informed, but transformed. This is your wake-up call. You already know what's at stake. You already know that the world isn't slowing down. You already know that standing still is not an option. So what are you going to do? Are you going to keep putting off your growth, waiting for some perfect time that never comes? Are you going to keep making excuses, telling yourself you're too busy, too tired, too late? Or are you going to draw a line in the sand and say, starting today, I commit to learning every single day. Starting today, I take responsibility for my growth. Starting today, I stop watching life pass me by and I start taking control. You have everything you need to begin: the tools, the access, the opportunity, but none of it matters unless you decide. Decide that learning is not optional. Decide that your future is worth the time. Decide that growth is a daily requirement, not a someday wish. Because at the end of the day, it's not the smartest people who win. It's the ones who never stop getting smarter. Final thoughts. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. You don't need to know everything. You just need to be committed to learning something. And you don't need to move fast. You just need to keep moving. Make learning a non-negotiable part of your life. Make curiosity your compass. Make growth your daily ritual. And you'll look back one day in awe, not just of how far you've come, but of the person you become along the way. Remember, if you're not learning, you're not growing. And if you're not growing, you're falling behind. So choose to grow every day, relentlessly, intentionally, powerfully, because your future depends on it. Chapter 5. The secret to gaining an unfair advantage in life. There's a truth most people never talk about. A truth that separates those who merely survive from those who soar. A truth that explains why some people rise faster, achieve more, and seem to unlock doors that remain closed for everyone else. And that truth is this: if you want to gain an unfair advantage in life, you have to think differently and learn relentlessly. It's not about being born into the right family. It's not about luck or connections. It's not about having some rare talent or winning the genetic lottery. It's about doing what others won't. And most people won't educate themselves beyond what is required. They do just enough to get by. They stop learning after school. They stop questioning. They stop growing. And they start living life on repeat. But if you want more, if you want to rise above the noise, the mediocrity, the excuses, then you need to commit to a path most people will never take: the path of self-education. The crowd is comfortable. The elite are curious. Let's be real for a moment. The crowd, the majority, lives in a world of distraction, comfort, and repetition. They follow routines that were handed to them. They think within boxes that were built for them. They accept average as normal and ordinary as expected. But here's what you need to understand. The crowd is where comfort lives. Comfort is the enemy of greatness. If you want to stand out, you have to step out. Step out of the routines that keep you small. Step out of the patterns that keep you predictable. Step out of the mindset that says, I already know enough. Because the people at the top, the ones who innovate, who lead, who break boundaries, they never stop learning. They don't wait for permission to grow. They don't wait for a boss, a teacher, or a system to give them a lesson. They seek out knowledge. They hunt for wisdom. They ask better questions. They go looking for answers others never think to ask. That's how they create an unfair advantage, not by doing more than others, but by learning more and learning smarter. Real learning isn't just information. It's insight. Now let's be clear. We're not talking about memorizing facts, passing tests, or earning certificates. Real learning isn't just about information. It's about transformation. It's about seeing the world differently. It's about understanding patterns, predicting outcomes, making smarter decisions. It's about knowing what others don't and doing what others can't. When you educate yourself daily, You begin to develop a kind of mental agility that makes life easier. You start to connect dots faster. You begin to understand people better. You recognize opportunities sooner. You avoid mistakes that trap others. That's not luck. That's leverage. That's what learning gives you. The edge. The information you need is already within reach. You don't have to enroll in an expensive university. You don't need a professor or a classroom. You don't need someone to give you permission. Because here's the truth. Everything you need to grow is already within reach. The books are out there. The podcasts are waiting. The videos, the courses, the interviews, they're all just a click away. We're living in the greatest era of access in human history. The problem isn't lack of information. The problem is lack of discipline, lack of intention. So the question becomes, what will you do with the access you already have? Will you scroll through meaningless content or study something meaningful? Will you binge on distractions or feed your future? The choice is yours. But make no mistake, your results will reflect that choice. The unfair advantage is earned, not given. Here's something the top 1% know. Education is your greatest investment. Every book you read is an investment in your future. Every new skill you master is a door waiting to be opened. Every perspective you gain expands your ability to solve problems. And the more you know, the more power you have. Power to decide. Power to adapt. Power to create. But don't misunderstand. This advantage isn't something someone can hand you. It's not something you stumble upon. It's something you earn. You earn it by doing what others avoid, by learning when others relax, by studying when others sleep, by developing when others decline. You earn it by outlearning everyone around you. Not because it's easy, but because you refuse to settle for average. That's what separates the successful from the stagnant. Don't try to learn everything. Learn what moves you forward. Now, let's talk strategy. Learning isn't about knowing everything. You're not trying to become a walking encyclopedia. That's not the point. The point is to learn what's relevant to your mission, to master the skills that move you forward. So if you want to build a business, study marketing, leadership, and communication. If you want to improve your health, learn about nutrition, training, and recovery. If you want to create wealth, educate yourself on money, investments, and mindset. Be targeted, be intentional, be relentless, because the more specific you're learning, the more valuable it becomes. And the more you know about what matters, the faster you grow toward what you want. Others will miss it. You won't. Most people won't see the opportunity in front of them. They'll see a book and say, I'll read it later. They'll hear a lesson and say, I already know that. They'll have a chance to learn and walk away because they're too busy, too tired, too distracted. And that's why they stay stuck, right? But not you. You're here because you know there's more, because you can feel it in your gut, that deep, burning sense that you were made for something bigger. And now you know the secret to unlocking that potential. Keep learning. Never stop growing. Final thought. Make learning your weapon. In a world of noise and competition, education is your weapon. It's how you rise above the crowd. It's how you prepare for the opportunities no one else sees coming. The more you learn, the less you fear. The more you grow, the more you attract. The more you study, the more you stand out. Not because you're shouting louder, but because you're thinking clearer. And that clarity, that calm confidence, that steady focus, that's your unfair advantage. So sharpen your mind like a blade. Study like your life depends on it. Because in many ways, it does. And remember, you're never too late, never too far behind, and never too average to change the entire course of your life. All it takes is the daily decision to keep learning. Chapter 6. Your mind is a weapon. Sharpen it or stay. Average. If you want to rise above the noise, if you want to stand out in a world where everyone is chasing the same things, if you want to stop merely surviving and start thriving, then you need to understand one thing. Your most powerful weapon is not your body, your resources, your background, or your connections. Your greatest weapon is your mind. And here's the truth that most people never realize. Your mind can either be your biggest asset or your greatest liability. It can lift you to heights you never imagined, or it can keep you trapped in a life you were never meant to live. And the difference lies in how you treat it, whether you sharpen it daily or whether you leave it to dull in the comfort of average. Most people never tap into their true mental power. The saddest part? Most people go through life never unlocking even a fraction of their mind's potential. They settle. They stop challenging themselves. They repeat the same thoughts, routines, and conversations every day, and they call that living. But you're not like most people. You're here because deep down, you know you're capable of more. You know there's something powerful inside of you waiting to be awakened. And that power lives inside your mind. But just like a sword, a mind only becomes powerful when it's sharpened. And sharpening it is not something that happens once. It's something that must be done every single day. Sharpening your mind is about transformation, not just information. Now, let's be clear. Sharpening your mind isn't just about gaining more knowledge. It's not about memorizing facts or impressing people with what you know. It's about changing the way you think. When you sharpen your mind, you become more focused, more aware, and more intentional. You stop reacting emotionally and start responding strategically. You stop following the crowd and start leading with clarity. You learn to question your assumptions. You begin to see patterns in chaos. You develop the ability to solve problems faster, make better decisions, and create smarter solutions. That's the power of a sharp mind. The mind is a muscle. Train it daily. Think of your mind like a muscle. If you don't train it, it weakens. If you don't stretch it, it shrinks. If you don't challenge it, it gets lazy. But when you train it deliberately, when you feed it the right thoughts, stretch it with big questions, and challenge it with new experiences, it becomes one of the most formidable tools you'll ever own. The greatest minds in history, thinkers, innovators, world leaders, they didn't rely on natural talent alone. They trained their minds. They read, reflected, journaled, observed, studied. They made mental development a daily priority. And that's why they rose above the rest. You don't need hours. You need consistency. Now let's address a common excuse. I don't have time. Listen, you don't need 3 hours a day to sharpen your mind. You don't need to disappear into a monastery or live in a library. What you need is consistency. Even 20 minutes a day can create a transformation over time. 20 minutes reading a thought-provoking book. 20 minutes listening to a podcast that challenges your beliefs. 20 minutes reflecting on your goals and actions. If you do that every single day for a year, your life will look and feel completely different. You'll think clearer, speak better, decide faster, and most importantly, you'll live with confidence because you'll know you've done the work that most people avoid. The enemy of greatness is good enough. Let's talk about the real danger: average thinking. The moment you say, I'm good enough, the moment you stop pushing, stop reading, stop growing, that's the moment you begin to decline. Not because you're weak, but because you've stopped sharpening the most important asset you have. Good enough is the enemy of greatness. It keeps you from dreaming bigger, makes you resistant to feedback. It tricks you into believing you're done growing. And before you know it, you're stuck, mentally flat, emotionally unmotivated, creatively dull. But that doesn't have to be your story. Developing mental toughness and emotional intelligence. A sharp mind isn't just about being smart. It's about being strong. It's about developing the mental toughness to keep going when things get hard, to stay calm when others panic, to keep your head clear when emotions run high. And that requires emotional intelligence, the ability to understand, manage, and master your emotions. Because the truth is, your emotions don't have to control you. With a sharpened mind, you can pause before reacting. You can observe instead of overreacting. You can choose your response with clarity and power. The people who win in life aren't the ones who avoid difficulty. They're the ones who are mentally equipped to face it. Sharpening your mind makes you unstoppable. When your mind is sharp, you don't fear challenges, you seek them. You don't avoid growth, you crave it. You stop playing defense and you start playing offense in life. You become a problem solver, a strategist, a leader, someone people look to when things get tough. Not because you have all the answers, but because you have the clarity to figure them out. And that doesn't happen by accident. It happens by intention, by making the decision to sharpen your mind every single day, by choosing growth over comfort, by feeding your brain with high quality thoughts, ideas, and questions. Every moment is a chance to get sharper. You don't need to wait for the perfect time, the perfect course, the perfect mentor. Start now, today, right here. Read something that challenges you. Just write down your thoughts. Ask better questions. Practice focus. Reflect on your decisions. Try something new. Fail and learn from it. Every moment is a chance to get sharper. Every experience is an opportunity to grow. Every challenge is a hidden gift, if you're paying attention. A sharpened mind changes everything. And here's the beautiful part. When your mind is sharp, the rest of your life starts to align. You make better financial decisions. You handle relationships with more maturity. You find creative solutions in business. Pursue goals with more consistency. You respond to life with more confidence. It's not magic. It's not luck. It's the byproduct of a sharpened mind, one that's been tested, trained, and tempered like steel. Your mind is your weapon. Sharpen it or stay average. Final word, the power is in your hands. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You just need to make a choice. Will you sharpen your mind or let it dull? Because one choice leads to clarity, confidence, and growth. The other leads to confusion, doubt, and stagnation. Your future depends on how you think. And how you think depends on what you feed your mind. So take the time, make the effort, do the work, sharpen your mind, and you'll become a force that nothing and no one can stop. Chapter 7. This daily habit will make you smarter than 95% of people. What if I told you that there's one habit, just one simple daily habit, that could make you smarter than 95% of people? A habit so powerful that when practiced consistently, it can change the way you think, the way you act, and the results you create in every area of your life. This isn't a gimmick. It's not a trick. And it's not reserved for the elite or the highly educated. You don't need to be born a genius, have a high IQ, or graduate from a prestigious university. The secret is this: learn something new every single day. That's it. That's the game changer. Learning daily, not occasionally, not once a week, not when it's convenient. Every single day. Because when you commit to learning something new each day, you begin to unlock a level of growth and awareness that most people never experience in their lifetime. Small steps, big change. Let's get something straight. Becoming smarter doesn't require hours of study, libraries full of books, or degrees upon degrees. It's not about quantity. It's about consistency. It's about showing up every day for your future. Even just 20 minutes a day, yes, just 20 minutes, can create an avalanche of transformation over time. That's 2% of your day. And yet, that small investment compounds into massive results. Because here's the magic. When you make learning a habit, it doesn't just sharpen your mind. It begins to shape your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who's getting by and start becoming someone who is always leveling up, always evolving, always growing, always reaching for more. And that mindset, that identity, it will carry you further than raw talent ever could. Knowledge is only powerful when applied. You've probably heard the saying, knowledge is power, but that's only half the truth. Knowledge is only powerful when you apply it. You can read every book, watch every video, listen to every podcast. But if you don't do something with what you've learned, it becomes nothing more than mental clutter. Learning should always have a purpose. It should move you, inspire you, challenge you, and most importantly, it should lead you to action. That's why this daily habit is so powerful. It's not just about consuming new ideas. It's about integrating them into your life. Ask yourself, how can I use this today? Where can I apply this in my career, my relationships, my mindset? How will this help me become a better version of myself? When you start asking those questions, learning becomes more than a habit. It becomes a life strategy. You don't need more time. You need better priorities. One of the most common excuses people make is, I don't have time. Let's be honest. You do have time. You just might not be using it well. Look at your day. How much time do you spend scrolling through your phone? Watching TV? Engaging in conversations or activities that add no real value to your life? If you can carve out 20 minutes for distractions, you can carve out 20 minutes for development. It's not about having time. It's about making time. It's about choosing growth over comfort, progress over procrastination. And once learning becomes a non-negotiable part of your daily routine, you'll wonder how you ever lived without it. The benefits go far beyond getting smarter. Let's talk about what actually happens when you commit to learning every day. You become a better problem solver. Your brain starts working differently. You become quicker to connect ideas, identify patterns, and find creative solutions. You develop strategic thinking. You stop reacting emotionally and start acting intentionally. You plan with purpose, prioritize with clarity, and move with precision. You gain confidence, not the kind of confidence that's loud or arrogant, but the quiet, grounded confidence that comes from knowing you're becoming better each day. And guess what? That confidence becomes magnetic. People notice it. Opportunities are drawn to it because people are naturally attracted to those who are growing, evolving, and constantly improving. This habit will change how you see the world. Daily learning doesn't just change how you think, it changes what you see. Suddenly, opportunities appear where others see problems. Solutions become visible where others see dead ends. You begin to see the invisible because your mind has been trained to notice what most people overlook. You walk into rooms differently. You contribute to conversations differently. You bring value in ways others can't because you've taken the time to expand your mind and sharpen your thinking. This isn't about being better than others. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. Real learning happens everywhere. Don't think for a second that learning only happens in classrooms or through textbooks. Learning is all around you if you're open to it. It happens in podcasts, in conversations, in quiet moments of reflection. It happens when you try something new, when you fail and get back up, when you ask questions instead of pretending to have the answers. Real learning is active, it's curious, it's alive, and it becomes part of who you are. Not something you do occasionally, but something that defines how you approach life. So look at your world through the eyes of a learner. Every person you meet, every challenge you face, every success you experience, each one is a potential teacher. Why most people never do this? If this habit is so powerful, why don't more people do it? The answer is simple. Comfort is addictive. It's easier to stay the same. It's easier to distract yourself. It's easier to say, I'll start tomorrow, and put it off again and again. But that comfort has a cost. It costs you progress. It costs you potential. It costs you the future you could have had if you had just committed to learning every day. Most people never realize what they're capable of because they never develop the discipline to find out. But you're not most people. You're here. You're listening. You're ready. And now you have a choice. Final word. The smartest person in the room isn't always the loudest. It's the one who never stops learning. This world is filled with distractions, with noise, with people pretending they have all the answers, but real power, real intelligence, real confidence. It comes from quiet consistency, from showing up daily, from choosing growth over stagnation, from making learning your lifestyle. You don't need to be a genius. You don't need to be the best. You just need to keep getting better every single day. So read that page. Listen to that podcast. Write down that idea. Apply that lesson. Make learning a non-negotiable. Make it part of your identity. Because when you do, you'll start to experience something incredible. You won't just feel smarter. You'll feel more alive, more capable, more confident, more ready for whatever life throws your way. And that will make you smarter. Not just than 95% of people, but smarter than you were yesterday. And that's the only competition that really matters. Chapter 8. Why most people stop learning and ruin their future. Let's talk about a trap that quietly destroys dreams. A silent killer of potential. A hidden habit that, over time, robs people of the very future they say they want. That trap is this. Most people stop learning far too early. And when they stop learning, they stop growing. When they stop growing, they stop improving. And when they stop improving, their future starts to fade. You may not feel it right away. You may still be functioning, still working, still going through the motions, but slowly, without even realizing it, you begin to fall behind. The world keeps turning while you stay stuck. Learning is not a phase. It's a way of life. One of the most dangerous beliefs in modern society is the idea that education ends when school does. We're conditioned to think that once we get a diploma, once we graduate, once we've checked the box, we can finally relax. No more late night studying, no more assignments, no more learning. But that mindset is what separates the average from the extraordinary. Because the truth is, graduation is not the end. It's the beginning. Life is the real classroom. And those who succeed long term are the ones who understand that learning must never stop. They read after class. They study after work. They ask questions when others are silent. They challenge their own thinking. They seek out information not because they have to, but because they want to grow. Comfort is the enemy of growth. Let's be honest. It's easy to get comfortable. Maybe you've reached a level of success. You've got a decent job, a good routine, a life that feels stable. You tell yourself, I've made it. I know enough. I'm doing okay. But that's the most dangerous place to live. The illusion of enough. Because the moment you believe you've learned all you need to know, you begin to drift. You stop asking questions. You stop exploring. You stop pushing your mind to evolve. And while you're standing still, someone else is learning. Someone else is growing. Someone else is preparing for the opportunity you're about to miss. Because growth doesn't wait for you. The world doesn't pause while you relax. If you're not moving forward, you're falling behind. Stagnation isn't obvious until it's too late. Here's what makes this problem so dangerous. It's subtle. You don't feel the effects of stopping right away. You still feel productive. You still feel busy. Life seems normal, but slowly, over time, things start to change. Your thinking becomes outdated. Your problem-solving skills weaken. You start reacting instead of responding. You feel stuck, and you don't know why. By the time you realize you've fallen behind, it's already happened. You've stopped evolving, and you're watching others take the lead. The world is moving faster than ever. We live in an age where information doubles at an unbelievable rate, and technology evolves overnight. Industries rise and fall in a matter of months. New skills are in demand every year. And yet, most people are still relying on what they learned 5, 10, even 20 years ago. They're playing today's game with yesterday's playbook, and they wonder why they can't keep up. But here's the truth. The people who keep learning are the ones who stay ahead. They adapt. They evolve. They grow with the world, not behind it. And that's why they win. Learning isn't about books. It's about awareness. Let's clear something up. When we talk about learning, we're not just talking about reading books or attending seminars. We're talking about awareness, curiosity, intentional growth. Learning can happen anywhere. It happens when you reflect on your failures, when you listen to someone who's walked a different path, when you challenge your own assumptions, when you ask, what can I do better, instead of saying, I already know. You don't need a classroom to grow. You need a mindset that says, I will never stop improving. The pain of stopping is greater than the effort of continuing. Yes, learning takes effort. Yes, growth can be uncomfortable. Yes, it's easier to coast. But ask yourself this. Is it really easier to stay stuck in the same place for years? Is it really easier to wake up 10 years from now and realize nothing has changed? Is it really easier to watch others pass you by while you wonder what went wrong? Because the truth is, the pain of regret is far greater than the discomfort of discipline. It's hard to study. It's hard to be intentional with your growth. But it's far harder to realize that you wasted years on autopilot. Everyone has the opportunity. Few will take it. We're living in the most connected, informed, and opportunity-rich era in human history. You can learn anything from anywhere at any time. There are no more excuses, no more limits, but still, most people will not take advantage of this. They'll scroll instead of study. They'll talk instead of listen. They'll coast instead of climb. And years from now, they'll wonder why they never became who they were capable of becoming. But not you, because you're making a different choice. You're choosing to keep learning, to stay curious, to grow every single day. The best never stop learning. Think about the people you admire most, the ones who lead, inspire, and elevate everyone around them. They didn't get there by luck. They didn't reach the top and stop climbing. They keep learning, even at the top, especially at the top, because they understand something most people never learn. Learning is not a luxury. It's a necessity. If you want to lead, you must learn. If you want to grow, you must evolve. If you want to stay relevant, you must stay curious. Final word. Keep learning. Your future depends on it. So here's your moment of truth. Are you going to keep learning, or are you going to fall into the trap? Are you going to stay sharp, focused, and adaptable? Or are you going to let time and comfort dull your potential? Because the reality is this. You don't just ruin your future by making bad choices. You ruin it by making no choice at all, by drifting, by pausing, by stopping your growth. And you have so much more to give, so much more to become, so many more levels to rise to. All it takes is the decision to keep going, to read the next page, to ask the next question, to take the next step. Because learning is not a phase. It's not a checkbox. It's a way of life. And if you live that way, you will not only protect your future, you will build a life that most people only dream about. So don't stop now. Keep learning. Keep growing. Keep rising. Your future is waiting, and it belongs to the one who never stops learning. Chapter 9, How to Become a Person. Others look up to there's something we all crave at our core, something that transcends money, success, and recognition. We want to be respected. We want to be admired. We want to be the kind of person that others look up to, not because of what we own, but because of who we are. But here's the truth. Most people miss. Becoming a person others look up to doesn't begin with status. It begins with self-respect. It starts with who you are when no one's watching. It starts with how you carry yourself, how you treat others, and how you show up for your life every single day. You don't need a title. You don't need a fancy job. You don't need wealth, fame, or a huge social following. You need integrity. You need discipline. You need to become someone worth looking up to. You don't need permission to be great. Here's something powerful you need to understand. You don't need anyone's permission to become someone who inspires others. You don't have to wait for someone to crown you with leadership. You don't have to be chosen or approved. You don't need to be voted in, appointed, or applauded. You simply have to decide right now that you will take full ownership of the person you are becoming. Because people don't admire perfection. They admire consistency. They admire character. They admire those who lead by example, especially when it's difficult. So if you want to become the kind of person others look up to, stop waiting to be noticed. Start living with purpose. People admire character, not credentials. It's easy to assume that people admire others because of what they've accomplished. The degrees, the awards, the income, the recognition. The truth is, the people we genuinely respect and remember, they're not just successful. They're authentic. They're honest. They're kind, even when it's hard. They're driven, even when no one is watching. They live with integrity, even when it costs them something. Because credentials may impress, but character inspires. And that's what you want to become, someone who doesn't just impress people from a distance, but impacts them up close. Set the standard. Don't wait for it to become someone worth looking up to. You have to live with a higher standard. Not because someone told you to, but because you choose to. You don't rise by chance. You rise by choice. You choose to show up early. You choose to stay consistent when others quit. You choose to be kind when it's easier to be cruel. You choose to lead when no one else will. And when you do that day after day, people start to notice. Not because you ask them to, but because your life becomes a reflection of excellence. You begin to shine, not loudly, but with quiet confidence. Not by force, but by example. And that's the kind of leadership people are drawn to. Live with intention, not just reaction. Most people go through life on autopilot. They wake up, go through the motions, react to whatever happens, and repeat it all again tomorrow. But the people we admire most, the ones who stand out, they live with intention. They wake up and ask themselves, who do I want to be today? What kind of example do I want to set? What values will I live by, even when no one's watching? They don't let their mood dictate their effort. They don't let setbacks define their future. They live on purpose, not by accident. And because of that, they rise. You can do the same. You must do the same if you want to be the kind of person others look up to. You don't have to be perfect. You have to be real. Let's make something clear. Being someone others admire doesn't mean being perfect. It means being real. It means being humble enough to admit to your flaws, strong enough to grow through them, and courageous enough to share your journey, not just your victories. People connect with authenticity. They're inspired by those who struggle, fall, and rise again with dignity and strength. So don't hide your imperfections. Don't fake a highlight reel. Instead, show what it means to rise after failure, to stay grounded in your values, to choose growth over comfort. Because the truth is, people don't admire those who never fall. They admire those who never stop getting back up. Consistency builds credibility. There's one trait that sets true leaders apart: consistency. Anyone can be impressive once. Anyone can show up strong for a week or a month. But if you want to become someone others trust, respect, and admire, you need to be consistent over time. Consistent with your effort. Consistent with your values. Consistent with your growth. Consistent with how you treat others. That doesn't mean being perfect every day. It means being reliable, dependable, grounded. Someone others can count on, not just when it's convenient, but when it matters most. Because when people know who you are, when they know what you stand for, they start to trust you. And from that trust comes admiration. Kindness is strength. Let's talk about one of the most overlooked traits of powerful people: kindness. We live in a world that often celebrates ego, competition, and dominance. But the people we truly admire are the ones who lift others up. The ones who lead with empathy, not arrogance. The ones who listen before speaking. The ones who treat everyone, regardless of status, with respect. Kindness is not weakness. It's strength under control. And the strongest people in the world are often the ones who serve quietly, speak thoughtfully, and encourage constantly. If you want to be admired, lead with heart. Because when your greatness makes others feel greater, that's when your influence becomes unforgettable. Lead yourself first. If you want to lead others, you must first lead yourself. That means holding yourself accountable. It means doing the right thing when it's hard. It means setting a standard for how you live and refusing to lower it for convenience. The people others look up to are not perfect. They are disciplined. They are committed. They are focused on growth, even when no one else is watching. And that inner leadership, that quiet, consistent excellence, it radiates, it influences, it sets the tone for everything around them. Final word, decide who you want to be. Then become that person. You have a choice every single day, a choice to drift or to lead, to react or to rise, to blend in, or to become someone worth looking up to. So ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be remembered as? What kind of impact do I want to leave on the people around me? What example do I want my life to set? Then live like it today, not tomorrow, not someday. Now, because respect isn't given, it's earned. Admiration isn't demanded, it's inspired. And legacy isn't built in a moment. It's built through a lifetime of daily decisions. You don't need more status. You need more intention, more integrity, more commitment to being the best version of you. Do that, and people won't just respect you. They'll follow your lead. They'll be inspired by your example. They'll look at you and say, if they can do it, maybe I can too. And that's what it means to be someone others truly look up to. Chapter 10, the one rule that will make you unstoppable. There's one rule that changes everything. One principle so powerful that if you embrace it fully, deeply, relentlessly, it will transform your life in ways you can't yet imagine. This rule isn't complicated. It's not a secret strategy or a hidden formula. It's not about hacks or shortcuts or overnight success. It's simple. It's clear. And it's the foundation of every great success story ever told. Never, ever give up. Sounds simple, right? Maybe even cliche. But don't let its simplicity fool you. This rule is where everything begins and where everything changes. The journey is never straightforward. Every dream starts with excitement, inspiration, fire in your heart. You see the vision, you feel the passion, you believe in the possibility. But then life happens. The road gets hard. Obstacles show up. Things take longer than you thought. People doubt you. You doubt yourself. And that's the moment when most people quit. Not because they weren't capable, not because the dream wasn't real, but because they gave up too soon. And that's the tragedy. They had everything they needed, except the one thing that mattered most: unshakable perseverance. Life will test you. That's part of the process. Here's something you need to understand. Life will test you. It will push you to your limits. It will challenge your will. It will force you to ask yourself, how badly do I really want this? And most people, when they hit that wall, turn around. They stop. They say, maybe it wasn't meant to be. They find excuses. They blame others. They shrink back into comfort. But you're not most people. You're here because you know there's more inside you. Because you believe in your potential. Because you're willing to do what it takes. And that means when life hits hard, you hit back harder. When it gets messy, you stay focused. When it gets lonely, you keep going. And when quitting seems like the easiest option, You remind yourself that it's not even on the table. Persistence is greater than talent. Here's the truth nobody talks about enough. Talent might give you a head start, but persistence will take you to the finish line. The world is full of talented people who never made it. People with potential who never followed through. People with ideas, dreams, and skills who gave up when it got hard. Because talent without consistency is wasted. But effort compounded daily, that's unstoppable. It's not the smartest or most gifted who win. It's the ones who keep showing up, the ones who fall and get back up, the ones who fail and try again, the ones who say, "This will not break me. I will not quit." Your success lies in what you do when it's hard. Anyone can keep going when things are easy. Anyone can stay motivated when everything is going according to plan. But true greatness, true breakthrough, that's built in the moments when no one's cheering, when everything feels heavy, when the odds are stacked against you. Those are the moments that define you. Those are the moments when your voice whispers, "Keep going. Just one more step." Because success isn't built in a burst. It's built in the grind, the repetition, the patience, the refusal to give up. That's what makes you unstoppable. Most people quit too soon. Heartbreaking, really. So many people stop right before the breakthrough. They walk away just a little too early. They back down one step before the door opens. And they never know how close they were. They never realized that the pain they were feeling wasn't the end. It was a sign that growth was happening, that they were stretching, expanding, preparing for the next level. But they gave up because it got uncomfortable and they missed everything they were working for. Don't be that person. Hold the line. Stay the course. Push forward. Especially when it gets hard. Because what's on the other side of pain is purpose. Success is boring. And that's why it works. Here's something no one tells you. Success is often boring. It's waking up and doing the same small things every day. It's showing up when you don't feel like it. It's repeating the process without needing instant results. It's not always flashy. It's not always exciting. But it works. The secret is consistency. And consistency is born from commitment. And commitment is born from one unbreakable rule. Never give up. When others stop, you continue. When motivation fades, you rely on discipline. When distractions arise, you stay locked in. That's what makes you different. That's what makes you a finisher, not just a starter. What you're building is bigger than today. Sometimes the journey feels slow. Progress feels invisible. Results feel far away. But remember this. Every effort you make is a brick. Every step you take is part of the foundation. And one day, you'll look back and realize you were building something all along, something strong, something meaningful, something no one can take away from you. So don't quit halfway through construction. Keep laying the bricks. Keep showing up for your dream. Because what you're building is bigger than today's feelings. Refusing to quit makes you dangerous. In the best way. When you adopt the mindset of, "I will never quit," something changes inside you. You become dangerous in the best way possible. You become unshakable, unstoppable, relentless. People can't understand you. Quitting isn't even an option in your vocabulary anymore. You're not looking for the easy way out. You're looking for the way forward, no matter how long it takes. That kind of mindset, it makes you powerful because it means you cannot be defeated, only delayed. And delays don't stop those who refuse to quit. Final word. This one rule will carry you to the life you want. Let's bring it back. to where we started. Never give up. That's the rule. That's the secret. That's the difference between a life of regret and a life of impact. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to move fast. You just have to keep moving. When it gets tough, dig deeper. When it gets lonely, remember your why. When it feels like nothing is working, remind yourself that persistence always wins. Because this life, it's not about avoiding difficulty. It's about becoming the kind of person who can handle it. And you become that person by choosing every single day to rise, to fight, to grow, to believe, and most of all, to never, ever give up. In the end, it's simple. Your mind is your greatest asset, and what you feed it determines your future. The people who rise, the ones who lead, the ones who live life on their own terms, they aren't lucky. They're learners. They've made growth a lifestyle and discipline a habit. So don't wait for permission. Don't wait for the right time. Start now. Read, listen, reflect, apply every single day. Because when you choose to educate yourself relentlessly, you do more than stay ahead of 99% of people. You become the kind of person who inspires the rest to rise. Your future is waiting. Go out and build it.